Member for Canterbury.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today to recognize that this month is Black History Month. And in the words of the Black Lives Matter Fredericton and New Brunswick, we need more action. I am pleased to see that one of the calls to action for the provincial government to have curriculum on Black history is going to be implemented. And I want to read the other calls to action that Black Lives Matter Fredericton and New Brunswick made. So in addition to having curriculum on the history of slavery, segregation, and systemic oppression in New Brunswick and Canada in public schools, they called for the government of New Brunswick to commission independent research on the personal, social, and economic impacts of racism in New Brunswick, develop an action plan to remedy these issues through an anti-racist strategy. I would also like to acknowledge that you can't focus on one part of the systemic racism. There is anti-Black racism. There's also a call for an inquiry into systemic racism against Indigenous people in policing and justice systems, which needs to be followed through on. For municipal governments, calling on municipal governments to create an anti-oppressive, anti-racist workshop, and also calling on municipal government to reduce police force budgets and reallocate funds to enhance community services and non-police means of community safety. And finally, for both provincial and municipal, calling on both levels of government to implement mandatory cultural competency and anti-racism training for police and government officials. So I am glad to see this small step of progress. I'm glad to see this in the education system. And as I've outlined, there's a lot more work to do. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The member for Fredericton